Today, I'm going to teach you guys how to do crazy Larrys. First things first, let's talk about what a crazy Larry actually is. Crazy Larry is a donut where you're pinned on limiter. You got throttle wide open, all gas, no brakes. If you're using front brake, that's just a regular Larry. Doesn't matter if you're on limiter or not. Before trying to do crazy Larrys, you need to be 100% confident in drifting with your foot down. If you haven't done that before, go check out my video I made last year. It's a beginner's drift tutorial. Once you're confident in that, come back and learn how to crazy Larry. Regular Larrys are a great starting point because it gives you a sense of the body position and a slight idea of the speed you're going to have when you're spinning in a crazy Larry. You can come in rolling or from a standstill, it doesn't matter. You work your way up on the throttle until you hit limiter. The benefit of using the front brake is it allows you to control the speed at which you spin. So the more front brake you use, the slower you'll spin. The less front brake you use, the faster you'll spin. So you want to work your way up to limiter and then use less and less front brake so you spin a little faster, and that'll give you a good sense of how fast a crazy Larry is going to be spinning. Once you can comfortably hit limiter using front brake and carrying some good momentum in your spin, then you're ready to start trying crazy Larrys. When I first started learning crazy Larrys, I'd start with my normal foot down drift. When it felt smooth, try and add some throttle and get to limiter, and usually I'd slide out and low side a bunch like this. This would happen because I'm drastically increasing the rear wheel speed while keeping the same lean angle I had in the drift. And if you remember in the beginner drift tutorial video how I talked about the less wheel speed you have, the more angle you need, and the more wheel speed you have, the less lean angle you need. So as you add more throttle, you need to get the bike more upright. I'll get nice and close up on the tank like this, and I'm almost to the outside a little bit where my knee is hitting my air cleaner, and this is how far forward you want to lean. You kind of head to the front of the tank, you know, your bent elbows aggressive up front, and then this leg is closer to the bike, as opposed to when you're in a drift you're kind of stretched out a little farther. When you're in a Larry, you're upright, kind of out like this a little bit, lean forward, leg closer. And that'll give you the correct body position to pin this bike on limiter. So the way you know your body's in the right position is because when you start adding throttle, the bike won't feel like it's sliding out from under you. It'll feel like the front wheel stays put in one spot, and then you just kind of are spinning around like an axis, kind of like on a globe. Like this front wheel is basically your axis, and then everything from behind, you included, just rotates around this pole instead of you sliding with the whole bike around a larger radius circle. Let's watch this clip of Eli drifting and going right into a crazy Larry. See how the front wheel follows a large radius in the drift and everything slides together? In the crazy Larry, the front wheel has a tiny radius and everything rotates around that point, kind of like hands on a clock. It's important to get on the throttle as quick as you can to get to limiter. It actually makes things a lot easier. You don't want to like slowly wind up your throttle and get to limiter. Just get right to it. You'll know right away once you start adding gas whether or not your body position is correct, and you'll be able to feel it. And if it's not right, you can let off. There's also another way to save it, which we'll talk about in the end. Get on the gas as fast as possible. It'll make things way easier for you. One of the most important things I can tell you when doing crazy Larrys is you want to have your front wheel turned into the circle at all times. This is the direction you're going to go. If you look at this GoPro clip, you'll see that my bars are always in, but I will make some small adjustments and move it in and out depending on how I feel in the Larry, but it's always pointed in. That's the direction you're going to go. You're going to spin this way if the wheel's that way. If you're on limiter and you're this way, you're going to start going that way, and you don't want to do that. So keep the wheel turned in, and you will make small little counter steering adjustments, but it's never going to be like that. It's always going to be here, maybe open a little bit, but it's always facing in the direction you want to spin. Alright, so you've initiated your drift, you've gotten on a limiter, you've had this thing pinned, you've done a couple circles. Now how the heck do you get out of this? Because you're going crazy fast, you don't know what to do. There's 3 different methods to get out of a Larry. The first one, you can grab front brake and turn it into a standstill burnout. The second one, you can pull your clutch in and smash the rear brake and come to a skid. Or the third one is you roll off the throttle a little bit, counter steer, and then come out pinned. Which in my opinion is kind of the coolest, but it all kind of depends on what kind of scenario you're in, your location, how much room you have. That's kind of how you pick which one to use. Coming out pinned isn't something I have perfected yet, but what you want to do is when you're in your Larry, you're on limiter, and you have to pick a direction you want to exit. And when you decide that, about 3/4 of the way around the circle, you'll roll off throttle a little bit. Never shut the throttle off all the way because you'll grip up and it'll toss you. So roll it off a little bit to where it slows down. You'll kind of keep your drift going, staying inside, and then once you get about halfway around the circle from where you want to exit, that's where you start to open up the bars and counter steer. And as you do that, you'll kind of go through the rest of the circle, and what you want to do is shift your body weight to the outside a little bit to keep the bike upright as possible, because if you stay leaned in, even with your counter steer, you'll kind of just keep going in a circle, and now you're just in a drift with a big counter steer, and obviously you don't want to get on limiter there because that'll be a big problem. Counter steer it and push your body outside, stay upright more, keep the bike upright. I've pushed off with my feet to kind of help lift it up as I'm going, and once you kind of exit straight and the bike is upright, not going to lean, then you can crack the throttle and get on it and come out pinned. So you got your Larry, you're on rev limiter, you roll off a little bit, you counter steer it, get it upright, exit, pin it. That's a really cool way to get out of it. So I mentioned earlier that sometimes there's a way to save a crazy Larry if you start adding throttle and you feel like the bike's sliding out from under you. You got the wheel turned, you give it gas, you're a little bit too far leaned over, it's starting to slide, right? What you can do, you got your foot up here, you're far forward, bars are locked, you're a little bit too far leaned. You use this inside foot and you kind of push off, and I'll get forward like this, and then I'll pull on this grip right here. You're kind of going, you got the gas going, it's spinning, I'm pushing off, and I'm pulling on this bar to kind of bring the bike upright. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, this is a 600 pound plus bike, so if you're gassing it and you're pulling and you're forward, you'll be able to feel where that front wheel starts to catch and it'll start rotating around it, and that's when you kind of know that you're back to a good body position and lean angle, and then you can get on your Larry. So if it feels like it's starting to slide out, push off with this leg, kind of get forward towards that front wheel and almost pull with your bars as they're locked typically, and you're just yanking on this left grip to try and get the bike upright, just like this. I mean, it's leaning and you're pulling, you're on the gas, and it should straighten up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It does take a lot of energy out of you trying to do that, so it's not a great thing to do, but if you're trying to get into Larry and you really want to save that one and do it, you kind of just have to tighten up and pull on the bike to get it back up to where it needs to be.
The last thing I want to talk about is getting on the limiter right after you dump the clutch. I'd say it's a little bit more advanced, but once you get the timing down, it actually makes it easier to crazy Larry this way. Same fundamentals apply, you just have to get the timing right. Pay attention to how the front wheel makes this large C-cut as the bike swings around after dumping the clutch, and then it kind of plants itself in one spot. You have to find a good balance with your body position during this time. If you're too far to the inside of the bike, it's going to slide out from under you, but if you try to get to the outside too early, it's going to high side and fling you off. I actually tend to get off the seat when I initiate, and then I'll sit all the way down into the crazy Larry body position about midway through that initial swing. The timing of this actually kind of depends on what surface you're on, but we'll talk about that more in a second. Once the front wheel kind of plants itself after that C-cut, if I sat down in the right position, I can get right on limiter. So instead of already being in the drift, then shifting your body to get the bike more upright, and then getting on limiter, we're initiating the drift and sitting down into the correct body position at the right time, so you're on limiter before a full rotation is even complete.
One thing I want to talk about is the different riding surfaces you'll do Larrys on. I learned everything on faded asphalt here, and the asphalt has a lot more grip than seal coat does. So when you initiate, in that clip that I showed earlier, you see how it swings around pretty violently, and I'm used to that type of speed of getting swung around and countering that to get into the Larry. When I got onto the seal coat, this thing is so slick, there's no grip, that swing is almost non-existent. So the habit of me countering that was kind of screwing me up, because I would just end up low siding because I'm kind of waiting for it to go out from under me, and it's really not going anywhere. Seal coat, way slicker. You kind of just stay upright right away and get on it. It's weird, but anything like faded asphalt, definitely a lot grippier. It'll throw you around a little bit more violently until you're in it. I don't drift on concrete ever, so can't give you any opinions on that. I just know seal coat and faded asphalt. So that's how you crazy Larry your motorcycle. Let me know what you think down in the comments. You got questions, concerns, criticisms, things I didn't explain well enough, let me know. I'll answer them. We can make another. But that's going to do it for today.